Fraser McIntosh, Head of External Affairs and Sustainability at Suntory Beverage, is now going to talk us through that and explain the benefits, the timescales, and all we need to know. So, Fraser, if you'd like to come on.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those that turned up and the many millions watching online. It's great to be here. Great introduction. I'm talking deposit return schemes 2 years ago. Not the most exciting title, admittedly, but this is really, really exciting. The idea of a circular economy for drinks packaging. We are just over 2 years to go. Fraser McIntosh, as you've heard about 3 times already, and Suntory Beverage and Food, GB&I. I've been with the company about a decade. There's a company and its brands for about a decade, and these are the brands, or at least not the extent of the business, but certainly the heart of the business. So Lucozade and Ribena, I hope many of you will be familiar with. And a little bit about the company before I start talking deposit return schemes. We're owned by a Japanese company, that's the Suntory, that also own whiskies worldwide. Lucozade and Ribena were bought about a decade ago from GSK, which you might be more familiar with. We have about 7% market share by value of soft drinks. Our brands are born in the 20s and 30s. Lucozade was created in 1927, Ribena in 1938. I hope, like me, many of you absolutely love these brands. Certainly I do. All misty-eyed when I'm talking about glucose and UK blackcurrants. And we have 700 employees, split unevenly between a manufacturing base in the Forest of Dean in Gloucestershire, a head office in beautiful Uxbridge, and 30 or so employees in our base in Ireland in Dublin. So about a fortnight ago, I was pretty happy with this presentation. And then I met someone that pretty much upended everything I thought I was going to speak about. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. Damien Gabet, a travel writer and environmental campaigner. So here goes. Brace yourselves.
700,000 bottles are littered around the UK every single day. That's 250 million a year. So what are we going to do about it? How about a 1,000-mile litter-picking cycle around England in the shape of a massive Lucozade bottle? Why? Because Lucozade is the most frequently found branded item of litter on UK trails. And that's why I'm calling this adventure the Look Crusade. 22 days of illegal wild camping and non-stop litter picking on my trash tracking interceptor cycle.
Mad Max meets Captain Planet.
Guinness World Records are involved. I'm going to set the record for the most plastic bottles collected on a bike in 24 hours. From dustbin till dawn. More importantly though, I'm going to raise some money for Trash Free Trail. They're the not-for-profit pioneers who are turning rage against the unclean into positive action. So friends, please sponsor me, share this post, and together let's make England clean again.
Yeah, love him. Absolutely love him. I don't love the pun, the name of the campaign, for fairly obvious reasons. But Damien Gabet, we were introduced by Trash Free Trails, a community not-for-profit who really want to connect people to nature through the meaningful act of removing single-use pollution from the places that they love. Brilliant campaigning group who don't just point fingers, they look for solutions in collaboration with all parties, and Damien, just a madcap adventurer, frankly. So we were put in touch. I gave him a call and he invited me to sit down and see it firsthand. But I've actually fancied joining him for the day to properly see it. We talk about Gembo in my business, which is seeing things firsthand, seeing it live. So litter, just as good as anything in terms of trying to understand the bigger picture. So really a better talk would actually be Peddling for Purpose, when SPF, GB&I met and joined on the Lucozade. I guess many of you are probably sat here or watching home wondering why I'm giving so much airtime to a company that's sort of out to, or a campaign out to highlight the problem with soft drinks and talk about litter. But despite everything, we actually have a lot in common. And I think that's what's quite brilliant about a deposit return scheme is it brings all parties together. It generally sings to campaigning groups, to most consumers, to producers like ours who want to see an end to littering. It's a bit of a no-brainer, no-lose policy, or at least that's the theory. So quite quickly decided I was going to join on the penultimate day of the bike ride. He was doing 22 consecutive days of cycling. I was rocking up on day 21, hoping he was exhausted and I could keep pace. So we did about 40 miles, Huntingdon to Harlow, for those that know that area of Hertfordshire. And it was a brilliant day of litter picking. This was my view. You can see basically make England clean again. That was my view for most of the journey, tucked in behind him, cycling away and litter picking as well. So, all good. You might expect someone in Head of External Affairs and Sustainability for a soft drinks company. I've done my fair share of litter picking. I've got my own litter picking, Helping Hands litter picker that I'm very proud of. But even I was genuinely shocked at the state of the roads. And there were a couple of reflections I'd share, but this was just a snapshot. We cycling 50 miles, 40 miles, stopping all the time. We picked up about 600 pieces of litter. The focus of his campaign was plastic bottles and cans, so this is why it's in high focus. But a couple of insights, I guess. Quite appallingly, when you turn off an A road, a busy A road, and you go onto a quieter road, suddenly the litter just amplifies and accelerates, and there's loads of it, suddenly much more. For quieter roads, the insight from Trash Free Trails is that that's when people don't feel observed anymore. That's when there are lots of people nodding, either you're all litterers and you do it, or you get the picture. So I'm no longer observed, there's no one behind me, in front of me, I'm just going to toss this and use a hedge as a bit of a landing net for my piece of litter, which is really, really hard. What became my nemesis on a certain stretch of road, and I'm not just trying to shove responsibility and accountability to another brand, but you'll see the Red Bull Pink Edition can feature quite prominently. And on a 200-metre stretch of road, I saw this same can repeated 20, 25 times. Again, I was kind of, what is going on? Why is it such in high demand from a littering point of view? And Trash Free Trails, again, a lot of hand-holding and explaining. This is someone's ritual. Someone literally they drive to work or they drive home from work, from pick-up, school, football practice, netball practice, whatever it is. They finish their drink about this spot, they turn off the A road, and their ritual, rather than just putting it in their car, is just to toss it out the window. Part of a ritual which is generally quite soul-destroying, but there you go. Perhaps another and third insight before I move on is just this, I think the idea of littering is, it's laziness. People just can't be bothered, right? But actually, Trash Free Trails talked me through this. It's anti-authority. It's I'm not happy with the man. I'm gonna litter. This is my sort of manifestation against the man. And here I go. I'm just gonna chuck it with a litter, and it accords some kind of status, which blows our mind, blows the mind of perhaps a lot of people here. But it is a truth. We shouldn't ignore it. But what Damien did, I don't know why we're fist bumping here or dueling, but nevertheless, that's the photo that Lee Rose, a photographer, and there's a documentary team following Damien around. He shared a couple of photos with me to use with his permission. He sat me down and he just asked me some what he called real talk questions. He put on a tie and he asked me a series of questions. If it's all right with you, I was going to just share them to the best of my memory, talk you through that as a way to explore deposit return schemes. I am coming back to deposit return schemes, I promise. So, nice, gentle interview, he said. Just a couple of questions. And number one is why don't you care? Why don't you care all that much? Obviously, I hope it's clear. I absolutely give one of those. My company really, really cares. We absolutely hate littering. It's a blight on the landscape. It's horrible to see. It's a terrible reputation thing for our brand to be associated with litter. It's terrible for wildlife. All manner of reasons why it's an appalling thing. We hate it. But also, it's a massive waste of resource. We spend a premium on recycled plastic in our packaging, 80% more than fossil fuel-based virgin plastic. We spend tens of millions of pounds on recycled plastic, and to see it chucked at the side of the road and not make its way back into a circular system, it is really genuinely painful. I wince when I see it for all of those reasons. So we genuinely do care. Claire? We really do care. I don't know who Claire is. I guess the point of departure, or what is worth saying, is we also really care about growth. We're in a really competitive soft drinks sector against giants with 7% market share. So what we really also care about is making and selling drinks successfully. That's what we're absolutely committed to. That doesn't have to be at the expense of the environment and doing good, though. We have a mission, a belief and value at Suntory Beverage and Food GB&I that is growing for good. That we try and grow the right way, make a profit, and then we can use that to invest in doing right again by society. And it's because Lucozade, Ribena, and Lucozade Energy, Lucozade Sport, and Ribena, and all other drinks sell so well that we can afford to reinvest significantly. We can invest £12 million over 5 years, making our packaging more circular, changing the labels, reducing lightweighting the plastic, so they can go through the system and become plastic bottles again. We can spend £6 million on electrifying our factory, reducing our use of a gas turbine that we inherited, and actually electrifying it fully, reducing our scopes 1 and 2. It's all these reasons and more. £13 million in a new energy efficient line that produces lower sugar soft drinks. Purchasing the recycled plastic I talked about earlier, tens of £1 million at a premium that no one's forcing us to do. We could just pay the plastics packaging tax and still save money and buy virgin fossil fuel plastic, but we choose to invest in recycled plastic. So I hope, takeaway, I really care, I really give one of those. But also, we care passionately about a DRS, which we believe could truly be a solution tackling the source of the problem. Excuse me. And we committed to a deposit return scheme as part of the whole industry retail initiative. We're investing a lot. We're spending £4 million to get our business ready and £45 million over the next 3 years as 7% market share, so all other soft drinks producers are doing as much or more, in actually getting a deposit return scheme off the ground. That's loans and fees, I should say. That's not just cash we'll never see again. It's loans and fees, but investing the cash liquidity to make it work. So, and also I haven't got a QR code or something, but if you want to search Suntory Beverage and Food GB&I DRS white paper, what a Google search that will be, you will find our white paper, which seeks to help industry, retailers, consumers understand how a deposit return scheme will work to reassure those that might not be on board. And it tells us, in 7 weeks, the average consumer who is going to be so confused about these strange reverse vending machines popping up and why they've got to spend perhaps 20p extra as a deposit on their drink, and they're going to be surprised when it first comes in, because perhaps people who have come to the talk know what a deposit return scheme is, but until an hour ago, Tim did not know it was coming on, and Tim's sustainability-minded and engaged in these sorts of things. It is just not that well understood. So it's going to be a huge surprise to people. They're going to review what they're buying, because if you're buying a 20-pack of cans of alcohol or lager, that's £4. That's a sudden extra cost. It's only a cost if you don't return the can, I should say, but it's a sudden extra cost. That's going to change your behaviour. And then you come through the other side. In about 7 weeks, you reset, and you set into new routines in shopping. So 7 weeks, we want to tell everybody that it will be okay. We just need to hold people's hand going through it, and then we're going to achieve these 90% littering rates that 90% collection and return rates that we're so excited about within 3 years of a deposit return scheme. So, next question. I didn't think it could get much harder than that one. Why is it taking so long? It's the lobbyists, it's the government relations firms that are delaying this whole thing, right? It was really feeling like real talk. But I'd say 3 things to that, I guess. Number 1, retrofitting a deposit return scheme to a really mature soft drinks landscape is massively, massively complex. Everyone has their ritual and routine. They buy their soft drink. You finish it, you crush it, you put it in your curbside recycling if you're a decent person, or you hold on to it till you find a littering bin. That's your routine. Deposit return scheme is going to change all of that. You're going to finish your drink. You are not going to crush it. Absolutely not, because you can't if you want your deposit back. You're going to wash it out. You're going to store it at home for a little bit in the space that you haven't got yet in your house. And then you're going to take it to deposit return scheme as part of a ritual, maybe on Sundays or after work on a Thursday. So that's huge change, and it's complicated to take shoppers with you. Framing is a big one, I guess. Maybe a decade ago, I don't know that soft drinks companies were really thinking, I think they saw litter as a problem. I don't think we talk, now we do now thankfully, about business resilience, about emissions, about the circular economy. So I think framing has changed significantly. For now, it's a company really worthwhile investing in, because you get your plastic back, you contribute to a circular economy, you reduce your emissions, plastics don't degrade in the environment. It's a much better framed solution to a problem we've faced for years. And then there is politics. There is politics on a deposit return scheme. There should have been a Scottish deposit return scheme live by now, which we invested in and supported, which the UK government at the time used the Internal Markets Act to kibosh the scheme. So it failed. It would be live, it isn't. And there is yet more, I would say, politics that potentially could interrupt the successful delivery of the scheme. So it is taking a long time, at times necessarily, sometimes because of squabbling. But I wouldn't want to accelerate it any quicker. 2 years is just about enough time for us to get ready. We have to scale a deposit management organisation. I'm sorry, I'm throwing all the acronyms at you. Deposit management organisation has to set up and scale a huge business capable of recycling billions of bottles, throughout the year. That takes time. Companies like ours have to relabel hundreds and hundreds of different artworks. 280 artworks probably we need to change, relabel, get new designs for, so that we can, when you take your bottle back to a reverse vending machine at your local retailer, it will recognise that bottle and you can get your pennies back. So these things take a lot of time. Of course, thousands and thousands of reverse vending machines need to be bought, and there's a rush for RVMs across Europe because the European Union has legislated for DRSs across all of their member states by 2030. So suddenly there's massive lead times on reverse vending machines. You can't really speed up some of this stuff. So 2 years is just about enough. And we also need to change behaviours and get people ready for it. But we have a really exciting case study in Ireland. Has anyone seen, show of hands, anyone seen Dublin's? Okay, one hand, someone's seen Ireland, a dozen hands, fantastic. You've been to Dublin or Ireland, full stop, and you've seen the deposit return scheme in action. And I went with a team of, a broader team across Europe of 20 of us. We litter picked along the Grand Canal in Dublin for 4 hours, 20 of us for 4 hours. We found 4 items that were in scope of a deposit return scheme, just 4. So deposit return schemes, the size of the price is absolutely enormous and so exciting. So it can work. Ireland saw way over 1 billion containers returned within a year of launch. It's key. It's going to happen. So, next question. Isn't glass the answer? People don't seem to litter glass as much. Surely glass is a better, more sustainable solution than plastic or cans. Lucozade and Ribena is a perfect example, I guess. If you're running a marathon, you don't really want to be at mile 23 still with 5 glass bottles of Lucozade trying to finish your marathon. You don't also want to be resealing a glass bottle with a lid or carrying a can while you're on mile 23 trying to cheer to the crowd or just finish your race. And that 1.5 litre bottle of Ribena sitting on the kitchen countertop is going to be heavy to produce, manufacture and sell if it's made of glass. Plastic is the right packaging format for our bottles, unquestionably. And we have a net zero plastic bottle certainly within grasp. The next 5 years, and deposit return scheme will accelerate that. Perhaps little known, and I should say all packaging has its drawbacks, but little known, little discussed, the temperatures to recycle glass, 1400 degrees C. Temperatures required to recycle plastic, about 250, and aluminium somewhere in the middle. So there is a case for not driving everyone to glass to make, from a sustainability and emissions point of view. So, not necessarily, I guess, is the short answer. Right, where am I? I'm getting to the end of the questions and a sum up, so it won't be long now, I promise. Are you on board with the deposit return scheme? Obviously, 1,000 times, yes, it is that perfect policy. It doesn't add cost to the consumer, assuming that they bring that bottle back. Producers help raise the money, retailers help raise the money, and it will radically transform behaviour. Really, and it transforms behaviour because where people now see waste, by October 2027, having paid, let's assume, 20p deposit, they will actually see a value. And if we think back to the insights that I shared earlier about from Le Creuset, that turning off the A road onto a quieter road, chucking that might well become a haven for wildlife, because the ritual behaviour, those 20 Red Bull cans along 200 metres, that's £4. That quickly adds up. That's going to change that person's behaviour. And those anti-authority, stick it to the man. Well, if they won't do it for the man, maybe they'll do it for the money. It's not a softly approach telling someone that wants to protest, or a statement of intent that I'm just going to chuck my can here, asking them to politely please recycle. That's not going to make a difference. But attaching a value to it so they bring it back and they get their money back, I think likely will just do it. And the kicker for me, a QR code, a deposit return scheme will create 3,000 jobs and unlock £1.3 billion in private green investment. There's a real case to be made and a really exciting move, I think. The final question that I'll share, what would I change if I had the power to change everything? I guess I'd probably put an end to tube strikes, but otherwise I'm really boring. Actually, I've got all this power all of a sudden. I'm not going to change that much, at least on DRS policy. Very happy that we've got Wales on board who accelerated their timeline for a October 2027 deposit return scheme. But there are some things that I would change. I would strike reusable glass, single-use glass from Wales's deposit return scheme. The rest of the UK has a simple scope of materials for a deposit return scheme. That's plastic and that's cans. That's what's been hugely successful in Ireland. I think that is straightforward. I think that's an easy message to understand. 90% of soft drinks packaging is plastic in cans. That's the immediate, perfect challenge. Let's do that. Let's not get distracted on a packaging material that actually is brilliant. People recycle at curbside pretty strongly. I see it as a distraction. And single-use glass will cost industry many millions of pounds more to try to do. The idea is soft drop reverse vending machines that retailers have to introduce to handle glass. So don't break it, catch it softly, and then store it so that it can be washed, refilled, and resold, maybe when the infrastructure exists in 5-10 years. And because the infrastructure doesn't exist, Welsh Government is saying, well, we'll introduce single-use glass along with the deposit return scheme, but there won't be a deposit applied to it. And you can also recycle it at curbside. I don't see how that's going to change any kind of behaviour. Why, when I can just put it in my curbside recycling, why would I take it to a retail? Why would I spend that time doing it when the message has to be clear? 90% of soft drinks packaging, let's get that in. So that's what I'd do. That's really exciting, isn't it? That's not what my wife dreamed of me saying, but there you go. The other thing, I'd also speak to Treasury Department of Government, and say, please stop taxing your deposit return scheme. There is no need for a VAT on unredeemed deposits. That's £250 million you're taking out of a deposit return scheme that could be invested in infrastructure, behavioural change programs, getting consumers to return their bottles. Don't see that as a particularly helpful way to go, particularly when it's a negligible return for Treasury. Not really making them any money whatsoever, certainly not against the scope of the problems that they face. So that's my big dream, really. If I was really, really that powerful, those are the things I would do on waking up. Maybe I'd also swell the coffers of environmental NGOs. I saw the work that Damien Gabet was doing. I see the work of Trash Free Trails. You might think we're on opposite sides of the spectrum here, but we think they're hugely valuable. And I was so impressed with the work that they did, raising such an important issue. And of course, while a deposit return scheme will incentivise bottles and cans to be recycled in the future, there is no incentive for the bottles that are out in the natural environment right now. They don't have the artwork, so you can't pick them up and take that back to reverse vending machine and get some money. So I hope producers like mine, once we've got a DRS live and it's a success, we can actually make sure that there's no bottle left behind. That's really the ongoing challenge. So, what's next? Well, Damien will resurface. I think he's partying, relaxing, trying to recover after 22 days on the bike. He is going to share his documentary. So if you're interested in his story, Damien Gabet at Gift of the Gabet, GABET is his handle, but also Trash Free Trails are also going to share that documentary. So I'd encourage you all to watch it. I am just a footnote in an otherwise compelling project. So I hope you'll enjoy that, particularly sustainability minded. It's a great story, brilliantly told. Then there is the Welsh DRS consultation. We'll be following that, feeding in, making our case. Let's just focus on the most crucial items first and then mount an evidence case for how we can approach glass, because there isn't a solid evidence base for the approach just yet. For us as a producer, Suntory Beverage and Food, GB&I, if I haven't landed that with you, we need to spend that £4 million racing to get ready for a deposit return scheme in October 2027. And then finally, go live in October 2027. I think I've said that 1,000 times. So you know the date, you know the year. Let's get excited and get ready for it. The final thing I'll ask, I hope this works. Well, that isn't working. If you want to donate directly to Damien and Trash Free Trails and the Lou Crusade campaign, just suggest in the comments they change the name. But if you want to donate directly, it's a QR code for you to take away. I'll leave that for a second, but that's me. Thank you so much for listening.
Fraser, thank you. Absolutely brilliant to listen to. And as somebody who lives in a little village where people turn off the B road and then dump all their cans habitually into my beautiful verges that I like to walk the dog.
It's heartbreaking.
I hope your industry is really going to help us in our little village and elsewhere across the
I should say, not just our industry, right? But retail is massively leaning into this. They're installing all the equipment, and soft drinks, absolutely. The alcohol industry, it's a proper industry collaboration. So yeah, really exciting.
Thank you. And also being the third speaker at all of Sustainability Live 2025 to drop the S-bomb on stage in your presentation.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Not the sustainability word, but no.
Can we blame Damien? We blame Damien of Trash Free of Lou Crusade. It was he that asked me the question.
It was his question.
Yeah.
No, in all seriousness, brilliant, and thank you very much indeed. We've got to take a break now for lunch. I hope that's not too much of a problem for you. We're back at 2:10 with a panel discussion on sustainability and shareholder value. So see you back maybe in stage 2 for that. Fraser, thank you.